All right, good afternoon. I just want to share some updates from our Operations Committee. Departments across government continue to work closely with the Chief Public Health Office to resume government services in line with the direction provided by the Renew P.E.I. Together plan. We are currently in phase 1 of our Civil Services Operation Plan. The following government locations and services resume service this week. The Access P.E.I. services at Surrey, Charlottetown, Summerside, and O'Leary locations. Respite care at the Surrey, Morel, Montague, Charlottetown, Kensington, and West Prince locations. Efficiency P.E.I. for service to the public at their Charlottetown and Summerside locations. Next week, we will enter phase 2 of our plan. The following government locations and services will resume next week. On May 19th, Island Waste Management Corporation will begin accepting additional items at their Waste Watch drop-off centers. May 22nd, P.E.I. cannabis retail locations will resume in-store service with limited access. On May 22nd, Child Support Guidelines Office's Harborside location by appointment only will reopen. On May 22nd, Provincial Courts, Charlottetown, Georgetown, and Summerside locations will open. Also note that P.E.I. liquor locations will all be open, all 17 locations will be open May 25th. And further details and a full list of government services resuming over the next week will be posted online today. Effective today, the province is easing the outdoor burn ban. We will allow small backyard campfires. Any outdoor fires should be contained in a structure or pit, and everyone is reminded that all regulations and requirements pertaining to safe outdoor burning still apply. Larger domestic fires for spring cleanup are still not permitted, and backyard burning permits will not be issued until May 22nd, provided conditions allowed. Industrial burning permits will not be considered until a later date. The global pandemic has changed the way we live our lives and operate businesses and how we work. As a government, that meant moving to essential services early on and finding a way to keep Islanders safe and support staff working from home so that we could do our part following the public health measures. Government departments continue to adjust their day-to-day practices to prevent the spread of COVID-19. In order to do so, we have established a set of guidelines for preparing our facilities to see the return of employees to our government offices at locations right across Prince Edward Island. We've been working hard and working together to figure out solutions for this new normal. Employees have been working effectively and productively at home for the past 2 months. During this time, we've experienced less traffic congestion and seen fewer vehicles on our roads. Transportation accounts for 48% of our provincial greenhouse gas emissions. As we adapt to the impacts of the global pandemic, we are presented with a unique opportunity to look at the way that government operates. This is a chance for us to see what actions we can take to align our sustainable transportation strategy to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions and continue to reduce the number of vehicles on our road. Over the past few weeks, my department has been working closely with the Public Service Commission and the Department of Environment, Water and Climate Change to learn from our COVID-19 adaptations and consider long-term solutions that can benefit Islanders and the environment. This week, we sent a survey to public service employees to better understand what working from home has been like for them and how it has affected their ability to carry out their work. This information will help guide our work as we take steps towards greening government and reducing our overall impact on the environment. We have set a long-term goal of a reduction of 33% of employees, and by our first run through, we found 16% quite easily. So we'll continue to work towards that 33% initial goal to help reduce our GHG emissions for travel. The pandemic has had an impact on us all, and we hope that through innovation and continuing to collaborate, we can create positive change in the long term. Before I pass things over to Minister Compton, I want to touch on one more thing. Government has been considering ways to adapt our public consultation process to ensure it's effective and safe for everyone. This week, we had asked the public for written feedback on the Royalty Oaks designation. We know the Royalty Oaks natural area is important to many people, and we've heard the concerns that have been forwarded. For this reason, we'd like to introduce a new way to safely perform public consultations for this particular project. Starting next week, staff from my department will be inviting the public to come to the project site for a walkthrough. The public will be asked to sign up in advance. Groups of 4 people will be brought through the site by one member of the project staff. and physical distancing will be practiced at all times. We hope that this opportunity will allow for more Islanders to understand and to hear our project plans and see the location and provide their feedback directly. More details on how to sign up will be provided tomorrow. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's no surprise that the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic has affected all Islanders and businesses across our province. We have been fortunate here in Prince Edward Island that due to the quick action and steadfast leadership of the Chief Public Health Officer and with the support and cooperation of all Islanders, we have been able to contain and mitigate the spread of COVID-19. As a result of our collective efforts, we have seen a relatively low case count with no deaths, no hospitalizations, and no indication of community transmission of the virus. However, it is not just the health-related impacts of the virus that has been concerning our government. It is also the financial and social impacts on Islanders and their families as they have experienced financial stresses due to the containment measures put in place to slow the spread of the virus. As Minister of Finance, I will continue to put in place appropriate measures to ensure the province has access to the money and resources needed to support Islanders through this pandemic. To that end, we have expanded the COVID-19 Emergency Contingency Fund to $75 million as we continue to better address the needs and challenges faced by Islanders, industries, and workers across our province. Much has happened since the public health state of emergency was declared on March 16th. Since that time, we've been able to launch over 30 programs designed to bridge the gaps, provide support, and meet the particular needs of Islanders during these challenging times. We have worked closely with our federal counterparts, local industries, community organizations, and stakeholders in providing programs that are meaningful to not only Islanders and their families, but also our primary industries, including our fishers, farmers, and tourist operators. We have identified and developed programs for our island students and additional support for our essential workers. We continue in our commitment to support Islanders during these uncertain times. In our comprehensive response, we have announced more than $40 million in business support programs that will ensure our island businesses remain stable and the backbone of our economy. We have developed industry-specific programs, such as our partnership with the P.E.I. Potato Board in storing and shipping Prince Edward Island potatoes during the pandemic. We've also developed more widespread businesses support, such as the Business Adaptation Advice Program, which has assisted over 500 businesses across the island to date. We are also approaching $30 million in support and relief programs for Islanders, families, students, and our most vulnerable. We put programs in place to address immediate needs for Islanders, such as the Emergency Income Relief for the Self-Employed, which processed over 2,300 applications supporting self-employed Islanders who needed immediate help in the earlier days of the pandemic. The Income Support Fund bridged the gap for over 7,000 Islanders waiting for federal programs like the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit or employment insurance. We're also expecting $16.7 million from the federal government in our partnered efforts to create additional support for essential workers. I am proud of our response to date. It has been the right thing to do. We will continue working with community organizations, industries, and stakeholders in providing needed support as we all continue to navigate the pandemic together. My department is working to ensure that money continues to be available for our programs and services, and to that end, we have recently approved a $50 million special warrant through Treasury Board. This special warrant will assist us in our ongoing COVID-19 response efforts, delivering programs to those Islanders most affected by the non-medical effects of the pandemic. I would like to take an opportunity today to provide an update on the COVID-19 support for essential workers earning $3,000 a month or less. This program is intended to provide a temporary wage top-up to essential island workers employed during the Prince Edward Island public health state of emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic and who gross less than $3,000 a month. The program is now available for submissions online, and employers are to submit their applications on behalf of employees. Eligible employees will receive a one-time payment of $1,000 administered through their employer. This program applies to employees who are a resident of P.E.I. and legally authorized to work in Canada, are employed in any business or organization providing essential services as defined by the P.E.I. Public Health Office as of April 25th, 2020. Have earnings less than $3,000 gross in a consecutive 4-week period during the program eligibility period from April 6th through to July 26th. An hourly wage of less than $11.75 an hour, and have worked a minimum of 60 hours during a consecutive 4-week period. While this program does not provide support to all essential workers, I'm glad that we were able to transform the federal terms of the program so that it would benefit approximately 17,000 essential workers who have provided needed service to Islanders during the early days of the pandemic. For more information on the program and to apply online, please visit princeedwardisland.ca/COVID for business. This program is administered through Skills P.E.I. under the Department of Economic Growth, Tourism and Culture. I ask that specific questions about the program be directed towards Skills P.E.I. and that they can be reached at 1-877-891-4766. We'll continue in our COVID response and in delivering programs to Islanders most affected by the non-medical effects of the pandemic. We know there will be challenges ahead. However, we must continue to work together to encourage Islanders to buy local, to support our businesses and all our workers as we continue to renew P.E.I. together and to rebuild our economy. It was the hard work and resiliency of Islanders that made our economy successful before the pandemic, and it will be those same qualities that will help us make our economy strong and successful once more. Thank you very much. And we'll open it up for questions now.
Sarah Fraser, CBC. Oh, hi, Minister Compton. Forgive me if you mentioned this, but we've been hearing from some of the frontline workers who say they make just slightly over the $3,000, so they don't qualify for the top-up. Are there any changes planned to that?
Thank you, Sarah, for the question. We've been back and forth on this program a number of times, both within the department and with the federal government, and we tried to find a place that would cover and touch most Islanders as far as a top-up, and there are really no plans to change. It's not perfect, but it's the best we could do, and we did want to make sure that we accessed all of the $16.7 million.
Okay, thank you. And for Minister Myers, we've heard there are screeners at the bridge and airport continuing on, if I'm not mistaken. Can you provide more detail? Like, how many hours a day are they there? Is it 24 hours a day? And who makes the final call about who gets let in and who is denied entry? Is it them, or do they sometimes call higher ups?
No, the decision rests with the capable staff that are at the entry points. When it comes to the bridge, they're there 24 hours a day because the bridge operates 24 hours a day. When it comes to the airport, there's only a necessity for people to be there when planes are coming in, so that's the only time that they are there. But at the end of the day, the decision is made right on site by the staff that are there.
Wayne Thibodeau, CBC.
Thank you. This message is for Minister Myers. Minister Myers, I'm wondering first if you can clarify to make sure the number is correct that we currently have 16% of the public service working home now, and the goal is 33%. And my question is, what supports will be in place for those workers, and will anybody be forced to work from home if they don't want to?
So no, nobody will be forced to work from home. The 16% was on the original. That's the original uptake from the departmental manager. So we set a goal, and it may be a lofty goal, but I think it's reasonable, of 33% of our staff to continue to work from home with the supports that they would have, from a technology perspective and an ergonomic perspective. We'd have to make sure that everyone was safe and that they didn't, end up hurt because of their setup and their location. But the goal is 33%, and by just going through it one time, one ask into the departments, we found 16%. So we're going to try to find the other 17%, and I think it's important to help us reach our carbon targets and our greenhouse gas emission reduction goals. But no one will be forced to work from home. And part of the model that we're looking at is 3 days from home and 2 days in the office, so it wouldn't be moved home permanently. I think a lot of the work from home structures that you would find around the world recommend that people work in the office a couple of days a week just for the social and isolation aspect of being home all the time.
My follow-up question is just wondering if there was any look at the economy. I know we're in a situation now where we have a number of businesses trying to reopen following the pandemic, and if you take 33% of the workforce out of the downtowns of Charlottetown, Summerside, Montague, that means these are some workers who won't be going shopping or won't be going out to lunch as often as they were. What impact might this have on our economy, particularly in the larger centers that have a lot of public service employees working there?
Well, I guess if you could look at it that way, Wayne, but you could also look at it the other way. It's great for the economies of Rustico and Cardigan and Georgetown and Surrey and Morel and Murray River and Belfast to have people who work for government work in their own communities. It helps Cooper Store and Eldon because they'll have local clientele. It helps local restaurants at that level too. So I don't think for a second that people won't come to Charlottetown to shop. Obviously, if you live in the eastern end of the island, it's the big center. It's where all the stores are. And at the end of the day, I think you're going to still see people continue to come to Charlottetown for the majority of their larger purchases. But I think there's an opportunity to grow the local small economy too. And as you know, Wayne, that's something that I've always stood behind.
Thank you very much.
Dave Stewart, The Guardian.
First question's for, I guess, Minister Myers. Minister, how did you arrive at, what services to open first? How did that process come out?
We put it through the lens through the department. So I think the operations committee first went back out to the deputies and said, what services do you need to bring back online? What's going to be very important? And I mean, in my own department, Access P.E.I. was one because a lot of islanders come to Access P.E.I. for numerous services. So it basically came through the department, and then everybody had to present a plan to the Chief Public Health Office to say how they're going to do it, how they would do it safely, how they would manage crowds and protect islanders when they came to interact with us. So it's kind of been a lengthy process to get this back online, and it will continue to be a lengthy process because as we bring other services back online, we're going to put them through the same lens and make sure that we work with the Chief Public Health Office to do this safely for all islanders.
Thank you, sir. And I guess my follow-up question would be for Minister Compton. We've received some questions from individuals about the $1,000 top-up for essential workers. Some have pointed out that the top-up eligibility extends to people earning a gross of $3,000 or less over 4 weeks, but also say eligible workers must earn less than $18.75 an hour. So if an individual, say, is earning more than $18.75 an hour but earns less than $3,000 gross per month, but due to not getting a full 40 hours of work per week, are they still eligible for the top-up?
Thanks for the question, Dave. It's actually, it is $18.75 an hour, and it has to be $3,000 or less during the period that we're looking at over a 4-week period. So $18.75 an hour and $3,000 or less are both, they're two different criteria, but you have to meet both of them.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Charlotte McCauley, The Eastern Graphic.
Hi, my question is for Minister Myers. Can you tell us about the change that will take place on Monday when a new onslaught of Quebec travelers will be able to cross through P.E.I. to go to the Madeleine Islands?
I can't tell you anything more than what the Premier has already said about it. It's not something that's inside the control of transportation for sure. As you know, we're inside of a state of emergency, so EMO is the one who deals with all of those requests and the pass-throughs.
Okay, I thought you might know some of the answers, but I'll just take my questions to somebody else then. Thank you.
Carrie Wynn McLeod, Ocean 100.
Hi, good afternoon to all. My first question is for Minister Compton. We have seen, since the announcement from Ottawa with that funding for the essential workers, it essentially comes to a $1,000 bonus kind of thing. But prior to that, we did see some other provinces, 3, I believe, that did increase the hourly wage of an average of $4 an hour for some of those essential workers. And that was before the funding was announced from Ottawa. Is this something that the province is looking at for the future to actually increase the hourly wage of these workers?
Hi, Carrie Wynn. That's not something that we're looking at as a province. We know that the people that are on the front lines, it's essential that they're there. This 16.7 million, I said it's a gift, I guess, in some ways from Ottawa, but it's very, very difficult to make everyone eligible for it. And there have been a number of iterations. At the very beginning, it was just going to be for healthcare workers that made under 2,500 in a 4-week period, and that is very, very small number. I think we would have maybe accessed 800,000 of the funds out of the 16.7 million. So the provinces were given the opportunity to change it to better meet their needs, and we want it to be able to provide it for as many islanders as possible. So it's treated like a bonus or a per diem, and it's not definitely not going to be a top up to the wage on an ongoing basis.
Okay, but the some of those workers that are on the front lines, particularly caring in the healthcare field that I'm talking about, some of them are paid, maybe not just much more than minimum wage. And is there going to be any review on those hourly salaries for those people?
Well, I think you can understand, Carrie, that we're talking about COVID-19 and where we are now. That hasn't been part of the discussion. In the healthcare field, there would, as I said earlier, if we would have used the criteria from the federal government originally, we would have only accessed 1,800,000 of that. But what I'd like to say is, we were able to provide this to as many islanders as possible. It's money that will, I'm sure will be welcomed by those people, and it will be spent here on P.E.I. And I think it's something that it's not perfect, but it's the best we could do.
Super. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.